You did it, you pressed the button. Hello and welcome. I'm really excited that you're here. My name is Lena Moxon, and today it is my pleasure to share this masterclass with you. 5 years ago, in the midst of my own personal breakdown, let's just call it what it was, I could never have imagined that everything that I was going through was building resilience and resourcefulness that would serve me well in serving you today. Trust me when I say, if you are a person who feels a little disconnected, a little lost, a little unhappy with who they are because you know there is more that you are worthy of and you're just not quite being the person you know you are supposed to be, I feel that. I understand it. And friend, today I'm going to start walking this journey with you. I will walk by your side and show you the way, that big learning curve from going where we are today to where we want to be. It starts here, it starts now. Dive on in. Let's dive straight in, guys. I'm not going to waste a minute of this today. I have lots of juicy goodness for you, and I invite you every time that we come together to give yourself full permission to just embrace the moment to be within yourself. Life gets really busy, and often we start programs with the best of intentions, but as busy women, we're pulled in so many different directions, and it's nice to just take some time to come back to center and just make yourself the number one priority in this moment and really dig deep and reflect about what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what you've been doing, and the results that that has been producing. And to consider, am I absolutely crushing this right now? Am I fully aligned to my soul's purpose and I feel good about the decisions I'm making and I feel good about the results that I'm getting? Or is there a shift that I need to make today? So whether you feel like you are on track or you veered off course slightly, today is going to be a beautiful opportunity for you to really take the mask off for a little bit and have a look at what is really going on. And today we're going to talk about how to feel strong enough to set really challenging goals. Because that's the problem for most people. We know that we want change, and usually we're at a point that we are suffering in a way that makes us want immediate change. But from that point, the strongest parts of us are usually the weakest parts of us. And I'm going to explain what that means. It's really important to know if you're going to set a goal to challenge yourself, it is going to stretch you. It is going to be uncomfortable by nature. That is what achieving a goal requires, for us to step outside of our comfort zone. It is that cliche, and do things that we have not been doing, or maybe we have never done before, to reach a new level of ourselves. That's not easy. So how do we best support ourselves so that we continue to step forward into that progress rather than retreat back into the comfort of what we know? Let's dive in. All right. First question today, guys. And if you have pen, paper, or your phone, I'm going to invite you to write things down as they come up for you. Sometimes when we're working through these workshops, you have a thought or an insight or something that you realize that just clicks for you, and it can be useful to write something down. So if you get that moment, I invite you, go ahead, write it down. It can be something that you decide to discuss later, something that you bring up with your coach, something that you just reflect on when you're journaling. The first question today is, what have been your roadblocks? So you're a few weeks into your journey. What are the challenges that are getting in your way? We're going to talk about it today. And this will be the last time that I want to talk about your challenges and your roadblocks, because what happens is sometimes there are people that get really wrapped up in their limiting beliefs. We get so obsessed with the story of why we can't, or why something is hard, or why we feel challenged. And it's an important part of the process to know what our limiting beliefs are, what the stories we are telling ourselves that limit us really are. But if we stay there, we will stay there. Does that make sense? If we keep just replaying and reliving and re-examining, what are my limiting beliefs? What are the things that slow me down? What are the things that have made this difficult for me to have confidence? We will stay there. We will stay in that energy. We will stay in that story. I know this because I did it for a really, really long time. I think whenever we feel the pain of being a person that isn't living in true alignment with everything they know that they could be or that they are, it's really easy to want to look for reasons why. Because there's part of us that feels guilty for not fulfilling our full potential. And there's part of us that just really wants to understand why this has happened to us. And we think it's because we want to protect ourselves from it happening again. But usually we just want to wrap ourselves up in excuses and justifications and just shed a little bit of the accountability for why we self-sabotage, why we say we're going to do something and we don't follow through, why we've started something and we're repeating the behaviors of our past that have not served us. Why do we do that? And so we look for all the reasons why we can't move forward. Our limiting beliefs, the stories that we tell ourselves about why things are hard or why we are suffering or why we are in pain, they serve us. And that's why we hold on to them. Because what they do, they make room for the excuses and the justifications for why we aren't following through on the things we said we were going to do. And I would spend so much time trying to overanalyze everything that had made me the way that I was. You know, why were my emotions so up and down? Why was I so reactive? And I would talk about past relationships. I would talk about body image and the things that my mum had said that made me feel shame. I can remember I was an 11-year-old or 12-year-old that developed quite quickly. Yeah. And my mum would always, for whatever reason, tell me like, pull your top up, because she obviously felt uncomfortable and I wasn't aware of my body yet to know that I was supposed to be covering myself up. My boobs were big. And from a young age, I learned, well, big must be bad then. And there was this shame always about any part of me that was exposed and big, right? That's what was internalized. And so it's not unusual that I spend the rest of my life being really self-conscious about this area and thinking that big was bad. I can go into a million reasons for why I had really messed up body image, why I had really messed up habits around food, why I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. I can tell you, we can go all day. I've got 100 reasons, 100 examples of things that have happened to me through my life for why I was the way that I was. We will find evidence if we look for it. We always, always will. But here's the thing. What I realized was every time I wanted to make change and move forward, I was just focusing on the problem. And I bet you know somebody like this too. It could be you, or you might have just interacted with someone that whenever you talk to them about something that they want to do, it could be a big goal they've set, or it could just be dealing with a small issue. And they can come up with a million problems. The problem is my partner is just working really long hours now and we just can't manage our time. The problem is the kids take all of my energy. The problem is we just don't have enough savings. The problem is, right? And the problem is usually not the problem. The problem is often that we are just focusing on the problem rather than putting all our energy behind strategizing, finding new ways, and making strong decisions for ourselves. It's important that we honor where we have been. So it's not just disregarding everything that's happened to you. We need to work through that. We need to understand that. But then we need to be willing and able to propel ourselves forward. We can't just stay looping around all the reasons why we can't. So let's move forward into some fun, free thinking. And this is where I invite you to let your mind just open and write down the first thing that you can think of. The first thing. We are our deepest desires. We really, really are. And last week I spoke to you, or the week before, I spoke to you about identity and how we are a little bit confused about who we are because we think that we are our past. We think we are our stories. We think we are the role we play in our relationships or our bank account or our status in community. That's who we think we are. But who we really are is our deep and driving desire. I love that word. The thing that we really know, the thing that we really want, the life that we really want to feel into deep, deep within us. And often that is hard to access because, like I said, we've been identifying ourselves by all the things that are external to us. And so we talked about dipping into ourselves and understanding who we really are, what we value, what is unshakably and unmistakably us at our core, so that we can access, what do I really want? What is my deepest drive and desire in this life? I think for most people, we don't want to lose weight because we want to be a certain weight, right? We set a number, we set a target, but I don't think it is your deep and driving desire to be 63 kilos. I don't think that is the best thing that could happen to you in your life. I don't think that is what you want to feel into every day. That's not the desire, right? There is a deeper desire about who you want to be and how you want life to feel and what you want to achieve and what you want to experience. And we believe that weight loss is a part of the formula to access that desire. And it could be 100%. It's part of the puzzle of putting everything together. Yeah, the way that your body feels, your health and your wellness, your connection to self. Yeah, that is definitely a part of it. So, weight and managing what we eat and how we feel and how we move our body is a great way to start moving towards living life from that place of driving desire. Our desires, though, are ahead of us, they're in the future. And so it's worth asking you the question today, where's your head at most of the time? The thoughts that are leading you through the day that make you feel a certain way, and then that drive the decisions that you're making, are your thoughts about where you are now, where you have been, or where you want to go? What are you thinking about most? Where you are today, what's happening in the present moment, where you've been, are you replaying and reliving certain scenarios? Or are you so committed and focused on the vision of yourself and all that you can be in that deep driving desire? Where do you spend most of your time? We think about all three, but usually we have a preference, or our brain, is conditioned to go to one of those areas more than the other. It's really important to understand that in order to make progress, when we have set a goal and we are wanting to move forward and we are wanting to generate change within ourselves and in our lives, the majority of time we need to be focusing our thoughts and generating the feelings that will propel us towards our future, because that is where our deep driving desires are. So if you're spending all your time thinking about your limiting beliefs and why things are hard and replaying certain events or experiences that give you evidence for why it's hard to change, that's where you're going to stay. The present moment is often confusing. We hear a lot that we should just be in the moment and be present, but I often struggle with that, and I'm sure you do too. If you are not where you want to be today, anchoring into this present moment, it doesn't feel great. It's important to find moments of gratitude and joy where we are in every day, but it is more important to know that where you are today is not where you have to stay. And it is the most empowering thing to align yourself with the future and the deep desires that you have, and to make that the leading thought that generates the feelings within you that will dictate the actions that you take. So, what is it that you want? What is the life you desire? What is ahead of you? Too often, though, once we can answer that question, we just want the strategy. Tell me what to do to get there. What's the roadmap? What are the steps? And it doesn't quite work like that. Weight loss is a great example. We think if someone just hands a program to us, automatically we're going to become healthier, stronger, fitter. We are going to lose weight. You don't just magically walk the line and follow the steps and get the result. There's a step before that we often forget. Before you can have what you desire, you have to be what you desire. I'm going to explain that because it's very important to wrap your head around what I am saying. It's a game changer once you understand this. Before you can have what you desire, you have to be what you desire. So no matter what goal you set, you need to become everything that you desire first, because then you can go out into the world capable of bringing every desire you want into your current reality. So Let's use weight loss as our example. Before you can lose weight, before you can achieve that goal, you need to be a person that is healthy, that prioritizes movement and good food. You need to be a person that understands what their goals are, and you need to be that person that is able to say no to everything that is not in alignment with the goal that you have set. You need to wake up every day as the person who is healthy, fit, strong, and able. You don't become that healthier, happier version of yourself once you reach your goal weight. You will only reach your goal weight if you choose to be that person today. The question is, that weight loss goal you have set for yourself, that woman you know that you can be, how would she wake up every day? How would she face the challenges ahead of her? What would she eat? How would she move? How would she interact with people around her? How would she prioritize her own needs and self-care? And why aren't you doing that today? That woman is not going to magically appear. And if you think just by dropping 200, 300 grams every day, you're going to shift the internal vibration within you, and magically, when you hit that goal weight, you're going to be a different person, you're kidding yourself. You need to be what you desire first, and then you will have everything you desire. If you embody the habits and the mindset of that woman that is stronger, more vibrant, healthier, and happier, if you decide to be her today, that goal is going to feel easy and effortless because you are doing everything that she requires of you to get there. We don't wait to get to our goal to be that person. We choose to be that person today. We have to be everything that we desire before we can have what we desire. I hope that's resonating. So, the next part of this is that we need to believe that we are worthy of the time and effort and energy and money that it takes to do the things that we need to do to achieve our goals. And often it's that worthiness piece that slows us down. And often it's the thoughts around what we are worthy of and what we believe. And so today I thought, before we move on to an activity that I'm going to allow you to deep dive into, we'll just discuss quickly what the difference is between a thought and a belief, because we have so many thoughts in a day, so many. The thoughts aren't so important. Thoughts are things, but beliefs are the things that are more important. So what's the difference between something that's just a thought and a belief? Very simply, and we don't have a lot of time to dig into it, but very simply, thoughts with an emotional foundation become a belief. So whether you believe you will achieve your goal or not, whether you believe today you are worthy and capable of doing everything it will take to achieve your goal, is just based on thoughts you have had with an emotional foundation. So the way that it works is we have a thought, and then we have experiences to support that thought. And so it becomes our truth, and that truth turns into a belief. Let me go back. Let's explain that. So you might have the thought, what can we use for weight loss today? You might have the thought, weight loss is really hard. It's hard for me to lose weight. It's hard for me to lose weight. And then you decide that you are going to go off plan that week because it's hard to lose weight anyway. So we're kind of leaning into that thought and we're curating experiences that are going to support that. And so we think it's hard to lose weight. It's really, really hard. And because it's hard to lose weight, it's okay for me to kind of deviate slightly because it's not my fault. It's hard to lose weight. And so we eat certain things that aren't on plan. And then when we stand on the scale, we don't see the result that we want. And that compounds that into a truth. And we make that truth a belief. And that's why we believe that it is hard to lose weight. Yeah. It's just the emotion that we put behind something. Any thought that we have can come and go, but if we attach an emotion to it and we start to feel it within our bodies and we decide to believe it, it becomes a belief and it becomes a driving force within us. So do you believe right now that you are worthy and capable of doing the things that it requires for you to lose weight? It depends on the thoughts that you have had about yourself and about weight loss and about the process of losing weight and the emotions that you have tied to it, the experiences that you have had, and how you have internalized that. So, remembering, we can generate power internally by deciding what it is that you want to think and feel. So we can reprogram and recondition all of our beliefs around weight loss, nutrition, exercise, and how we approach it. Because for a lot of us, the things that we have internalized, the beliefs we have about our body, our worthiness, weight loss, exercise, healthy food, they are not useful. And so we need to work really hard to reprogram our minds and recondition our minds to think differently so that we feel differently and we act differently. One of the most important things to do is to make sure that we are fulfilled and centered and content before we start to challenge ourselves. Self-care is something that a lot of people wait to gift to themselves once they are almost in that breakdown mode. We deplete ourselves and then we go, oh, I probably should invest some time in self-care. But it's almost a little bit too little too late. That's what I'm trying to say. Too little too late. So I believe self-care absolutely has to come first. It has to be the foundation of everything that we do, so that when we decide to challenge ourselves by setting a goal, we already feel fulfilled and able and worthy and confident enough to be challenged. Especially when it comes to weight loss, we need to, and I'm going to talk about our emotional cup in a moment, we need to make sure we are fulfilled, mind, body, and soul, so that we can push ourselves and we can challenge ourselves to make different choices around food and movement. And we need different ways to fill our cups that don't involve Tim Tams, that don't involve drinks with the girls during the week, that don't involve just binging on chips and dip on a Saturday night, because these are the things that we may have been using to feel good within ourselves that we can no longer use because it is in contrast to the goal we have set. So does that mean we just sit back and don't give ourselves pleasure and don't give ourselves joy and don't give ourselves coping mechanisms for the stresses that are in our life? Absolutely not. But it means we need to bring full awareness to what we are doing in terms of self-care and our own personal emotional cup. So what I'm showing here is a visual that I loved so much. I was a primary school teacher for about 10 years, and I was obsessed with understanding how to meet the needs of children to engage them in learning. And one of the things that I learned about that I absolutely loved was about a child's emotional cup. And if you are a mum or you have a little one in your life, you'll love this too. So I'm going to talk about it, and you can think about the children that you love, and you can think about the little people in your life, because often we're more willing and able and open to meet their needs and desires. And I want to offer you that anything that you would be willing to do for your child because you know they are worthy and deserving of that, you should be able to give to yourself as well. So this image basically just shows an emotional cup. And there's 3 parts of an emotional cup that we want to make sure we are aware of. So what fills a child's cup, what empties their cup, and some ways that children deal with having an empty cup. And so what this allowed me to understand was that we need to look at the behaviors of a child and understand what was the driving force. So to not judge the behavior, but to understand what was the driving force. And we can do it with ourselves as well. For a lot of us, we don't actually understand what fills our cup. We know, we hear all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup, you need a full cup, but we actually haven't taken the time to sit down and understand what is it exactly that I need to fill my cup. And then what are the things that empty my cup? And then the best part of this exercise is understanding what are my red flags. What are some of the ways that I deal with my cup being emptied? And this is a level of self-awareness that is really going to help you, because often our red flags are so well hidden that to anybody else, it wouldn't seem like we were starting to become depleted, stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, whatever it is that you go to when you feel like you are being depleted. So an example that I have is that when my cup starts to empty, when my emotional cup is starting to empty, one of my red flags for that, well, two of my red flags that I have realized for myself, I know when things aren't quite right for me. If I start waking up early in the morning, I have an anxious energy and my body is waking up at 5 in the morning. And I just want to get on with my day and I want to work and it seems productive and people go, wow, like you're getting so much done. No, really, it's just within me, my cup is emptying and that's the way I deal with it. I get anxious and stressed. And I realize if I am doing a second workout in the day, if I'm getting on the treadmill in the afternoon every day, that is a red flag for me as well, because I use exercise to try and regulate my emotions. So things that would seem productive are actually red flags for me. And personally, when I can start to notice myself over functioning in areas, that is a red flag for me that my cup is being emptied. And I have to very quickly go to the list of, well, what do I need to do in order to fill that cup back up before I get to the point that my cup is being completely depleted. And it's the awareness of those red flags that stop us from doing the things that are in contrast with our goals when our cup is empty. Because usually that is what happens when we are doing things that are not aligned to our goals, right? It's not that we're desperate to eat a Tim Tam, or it's not that we're desperate to go off plan. We don't wake up today and go, you know what, stuff my goals. I think I'm just going to do everything in contrast to what I'm supposed to do. Is that our cup is empty and we have not put in place things that can fulfill mind, body, and soul. So we just revert back to the unhelpful habits that we have installed within us, that have been programmed within us to fill our cup. So it's about looking at what does fill my cup, and then looking at, is what I'm using to fill my cup aligned to my goal right now? And if it's not, this is where I have to work really hard to make some conscious decisions about what things can I take out of there and what things will I need to put in to make sure that I am still filling my cup. Because a lot of the time, guys, even if we know that our habits and our behaviors aren't good for us, they are the things that we were using to fill our cup. So when we take away the things that were giving us pleasure, even if they were bad for us, even if they're in contrast to the goals that we've set, our cup is emptier than before. And that's why we struggle to stay on track. That's why we struggle with compliance and adherence, because our cup is empty. And we just want a full cup. We want to be happy. We want to feel fulfilled, but we haven't made conscious choices about how we are filling that. And then we don't have the self-awareness to realize, what are the warning signs that this is happening to me? And once you understand those warning signs, it is a game changer, because you will stop yourself in that moment before your cup is empty. And you'll know, I need to make some decisions here because I'm about to make some poor decisions if I don't. So today, we're going to take some time. I know I've already gone a little bit over time, so I won't take too long. And maybe this is something that you can start today just to let your brain kind of brain dump a little bit. And it might be something you need to think into more. We're going to look at 3 things. So if you've got paper in front of you, or if you just want to think about it now, make 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. What fills my cup is number 1. What are the things that fill your cup? Activities, experiences, things that you can do, people that you can talk to, places that you can go. It can be the smallest things to, larger things. What is it that I do that fills my cup? Then in the second column, what empties my cup? What are the things that I do that deplete me of my energy or just my joy, things that stress me out? Who are the people that I get around that really just, I leave the situation or the exchange and I just go, man, that was hard work? Is it lack of sleep? Is it, poor nutrition choices? What is it that empties your cup? And then the third column is, how do I deal with an empty cup? What do I do? Do I start snapping at my partner? Do I retreat? Do I isolate myself? Or are you like me? Do I overfunction and distract myself? Do I clean the house like a maniac? What are the things that you do when your cup is starting to empty that you can identify as the red flags that you are not in alignment with your highest self. When your energetic vibration is not at a high level, it's starting to drop. And it's not a good thing because it's going to lead you to poor habits and poor behaviors. I'm going to give you a few minutes. If you're struggling to fill these in, guys, that is okay. But I also want to be very honest in telling you this is an example of self-awareness. If you can answer these questions, if you know this about yourself, you can confidently say, yeah, I'm building a good level of self-awareness. If you're struggling to answer these questions, it demonstrates the disconnect between what you do and who you are. And that's when we feel out of control. We're like, I don't know why I do the things that I do. I don't even know what I do. I'm so disconnected from the way that I function and show up in the world that I can't even answer questions about myself and how I feel and what I think. This is what it means to strengthen your relationship with yourself. Self-awareness and self-love, it's not just simply arriving at acceptance. It's not, this is what I do. I'm going to move on just because I'm mindful of time, but I think this is a beautiful journaling exercise for you to sit with. And the thing to understand, like I said, where you are today is not where you need to stay. So if you're filling in the answers to these questions and you don't like what you're writing, or putting it down makes it blatantly clear to you that this is why I'm not achieving my goals, because the way that I fill my cup is in complete contrast to the goal that I have set. And the way that I empty my cup, the things that I allow to happen, the ways that I engage in the world and with people and with energy and with media that just makes me feel like shit, my goodness, of course I'm not achieving my goal if I'm allowing myself to do all these things that empty my cup. And wow, look at how I deal with an empty cup. Of course, my coping mechanisms are in complete contrast to the goal that I've set as well. And so there's power in this. Even when we can see, man, I'm a shitstorm at the moment, when we can see that it's our thoughts, our feelings, and actions that are getting in our way, we realize there's nothing wrong with the goal that I've set. I'm still worthy of that goal. I still want that goal. That goal still stands. It's just the choices that I'm making, the decisions I'm making that are in contrast to that. And if I could just choose to think a little differently and take care of myself in a way that is aligned with that goal, that allows me to be the person today that is capable of achieving that goal, man, that goal is still there and it is still mine. When we come off track or our progress hasn't been as straightforward as we would have liked it to be, we lose sight of that goal. Or we make the goal smaller, or we make it less important to us. And there's beautiful power in understanding the goal is still there. If it was important to you, if it was a deep desire, if it is part of the vision you have for yourself, hold it there and hold it strong. And know that you have the power within yourself to just simply shift your mind a little bit, change your thoughts, change the way you feel, and change the way you are showing up. The last slide that I have to share with you, if I can get there it is just a final note on self-care, because when we're talking about filling that emotional cup up, often what we will notice is that we are not addressing all of the elements within us. We need to make sure that our cup is being filled with things that meet the needs of body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes we fall into a pattern that only addresses one or two of these areas, and we realize, man, I'm completely neglecting this whole part of me. So have a look at how you're filling your cup, and I would suggest to you, you want to make sure that you are doing things that meet the needs of body, mind, and spirit. And then the next level of self-awareness is understanding how often do I need to meet these needs? Over the course of a month, what would I need to do? What would I need to experience? What would I need to schedule to make sure that the needs of body, mind, and spirit were met? We all have different preferences for these. And it's about understanding, well, how often do I need to engage with certain things? So for body, what is it that you do to show self-care to your body? What is it? For some of you, it's not workouts. You freaking hate the workouts. You know you have to do it, but a workout to you doesn't feel like self-care. It's a necessary part of the journey. So to say, yeah, I did my workout today, that's self-care for my body, that might not be true for you. That might not feel loving yet, especially if you're not yet comfortable within your body. The workouts don't really feel like connection and love and allowing of your body. So in what ways are you meeting the needs of your body? It could be the smallest thing, like just prioritizing that I'm going to decide to drink some water in the morning before I smash myself with coffee. Yeah. It's taking that moment to just honor your body in that way. It could be taking the time to bloody floss your teeth like you should, but we rush through the day and we don't do that for ourselves. It's these little nods to ourselves through the day that change how we feel about ourselves. As simple as that. A lady that I worked with recently revealed to me that for herself, rebuilding the relationship she had with her body was about moisturizing slowly and intentionally and all parts of her body. And she said to me, it had probably been, she had 10 years, she thinks maybe more, that she hadn't moisturized the back of her legs and her butt because she didn't like the way they looked. She didn't like the way they feel. So that became a part of her that she didn't even acknowledge being there. Imagine just not acknowledging a whole part of you, the disconnect that creates. So for her, self-care was, I'm going to lovingly touch and moisturize and give attention to every part of my body, even the parts that I have shamed for the last 10 years. How do you feed and nourish your mind? And how often does that have to happen? For some of us, if we have really big work schedules, that might seem a bigger ask because we just want to switch off and disconnect. And that is fine. And that is something that you probably need to do more than you realize. So for some of us, mind is about nourishing, putting more in. Yeah, for me, I need to be able to read and listen and learn. That's when I know my mind is being taken care of. For some people, we need to find ways to disconnect and meditate and just give ourselves the beautiful relaxation of nothingness. How do we get there? You need to know which person are you? And then spirit. Hug a pet, send texts to a friend, donate, have a gratitude practice. If you can fill your cup in all these areas consistently, it means you feel good within yourself, and it means you're going to be able to challenge yourself in the ways that you need to in order to achieve your goal. And you won't be relying on the poor food choices or the wine or the toxic relationships to fill those gaps for you. You get ahead of the game. You fill it for yourself so that you come into every day not with this neediness to make yourself feel better. And you're not going to repeat the habits and the behaviors and the patterns that have led you to be in this place that you feel like you need change from. We're making conscious choices about how do I take care of myself so I know I can now challenge myself. And these are the things that I come back to every day when I am feeling challenged, when I am feeling disheartened, when I am feeling all the fear and doubt that obviously comes up whenever we're pushing ourselves. And we come back to this and we fill our cup back up with things that we have decided are in alignment with who we need to be in order to reach that goal. I'm going to leave you with those things to consider, guys. I'll go back once again to the 3 things that you're supposed to be able to give a little bit of thought to and articulate within yourself. What fills my cup? What empties my cup? And how do I deal with an empty cup? One final note that I want to make, just to be clear, the list of things that empty our cup, we can't always change that. Sometimes we can. Sometimes you can get divorced and move to another state and never talk to people again. It's possible. I don't suggest it. Sometimes, you know, if work is really stressful, if finances are really stressful, if a global pandemic is making you feel like you are in a funk, sometimes there's nothing that we can do about that, and that's fine. So it's not about creating a list and thinking that you have to get rid of everything on that list, but it's just being mindful of looking at the list of things that empty your cup and giving yourself the respect of thinking, well, how often do I engage with these things, and how is that really making me feel? And how much bigger would my list of things that fill my cup need to be in order to counteract that? Yeah, it's worth thinking about for yourself. I think we'll leave that there for today, guys. Let me stop recording.